their customers, and some of those customers don't have the choice of going to
So
supermarkets. So let's
stop
and think about them.
60.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, I'm being interrupted.
We've given this a
when
good
I say
run.
things that they don't like hearing, I
Right,
often
okay,
get interrupted,
order, please.
Oh dear, our Alister Jack and his demeanour seems to be going all to pot, doesn't it? But hello then, I do hope you're all well. Also, pop is the whole point of this back and forth between SNP MP Philippa Whitmore and the Secretary of State for Scotland, Alister Jack, as she brought up this deposit return scheme. Now, as far as I can gather, and my friends up in Scotland will put me right if I make a mistake here, so please don't shoot me. As far as I can gather, it's a scheme where you buy a bottle or a canned drink and you pay a 20p deposit, something like that, and when you've drunk it, you return it, the empty container, to either a corner shop or a restaurant, or apparently have these empty container type vending machines where you return your empties or your empty and you get your deposit back. Well, Philippa Whitmore, she asked about why the government were, what you'd say, dragging their heels on this subject, and it's where it all kicked off.
The Environmental Audit Committee in 2021 actually called for the UK government to get on with a deposit return scheme, that it was urgent, and called for an all-in scheme, not just including glass, but including cartons. So why exactly, under the hints that we had in February from the Secretary of State, would it be that the UK government would want to block the Scottish, and we understand also Welsh government, from having a more inclusive deposit return scheme?
Well, I will answer that. What we've asked for, so let's be clear about something which, again, I seem to be able to clear this up in these sort of meetings. The first formal request to ministers was on the 6th of March. Now, that was cleared up this morning again in the DEFRA IMG meeting. I saw some raising of eyebrows over there when I made that remark, but to be absolutely clear, and I know one of the Green MSPs said to me that wrote to the Speaker of the House and the Cabinet Secretary Simon Case to say that wasn't the case. Well, I responded to both the Speaker and to the Cabinet Secretary, and I copied it to the presiding officer of the letter, and I copied it to the relevant MSP. And I laid out exactly what happened at the minutes and the meetings between officials, and where we got to when a formal request was made on the 6th of March. And that letter, funnily enough, which made it crystal clear as day that I was accurate, that I was correct in what I said, including the First Minister received a letter from the Prime Minister laying it out, and on we go. I mean, we've been very clear about it. It absolutely was first requested formally, and we started to look at it formally across Whitehall on the 6th of March. So that is
but the process did start last October.
Sorry?
The process through the common frameworks, which your ministerial colleague said is part of the structure of the IMA, started in October.
Yeah, I know, but that...
And completed in February.
But actually what Common Framework says, the Common Framework says that we should... that these things should be dealt with across Whitehall before they actually go into the Common Framework process. That's in the instructions, the protocols of how Common Frameworks work. But in this occasion, the discussions were taking place with DEFRA, but not with the Department for Business and Trade, who own the UKIM legislation, not with the Welsh office or the Scottish office or DLUC, who have obviously will represent local authorities on these matters and the impact on them, and on it goes. Those discussions were taking place, but hadn't taken place at ministerial level, and effectively the Scottish Government went ahead and put in place Circularity Scotland with no impact assessments on since post-UKIM, sorry. The only impact assessments were pre-UKIM, and we needed to see the Department for Business and Trade impact assessments on consumers, on consumer choice, on costs to consumers, on businesses, on trade within the UK, and on international trade. And those impact assessments, as I said this morning in the meeting, still haven't been done, but it's important they are done, because before you go and build your house, you should seek planning permission. The Scottish Government have built a house, and now they're asking for planning permission. It's the wrong way around.
Forgive me for jumping in here, but I'm not sure what he's talking about makes any sense. But I remember as a child, my misspent youth, yes, in them early 70s, shows you how old I was then. I remember we used to get our beverages, our pop, our cherryade, lemonade or whatever, from what I used to call the pop man. And now, if I remember rightly, as a child, he would rock up on our street with this big van, and we would buy these big bottles of pop. I can't quite remember what litre they were. Ben Shaw's, if I remember rightly. And then we would return the bottles, and the next week they're empties, and we would get a 5p deposit back, and then we would repeat the cycle by buying more bottles of pop on that same day, and then the cycle would repeat itself. Then my dad would say, "Here, go on, son, get yourself to the shop," and I'd be hyper on either cherryade or halfpenny mojos. The wonders of misspent youth there.
But Secretary of State, you just said that actually the Scottish Government should have been in touch with all the ministries across Whitehall before going in.
That's what the frameworks protocol says, yeah.
So so the common frameworks is not where these things are discussed and refined before taking them to a minister. So you'd be writing to a minister with an empty page going, can we have permission to do this?
The Scottish Government should have come and talked to us about, after the UKIM legislation, they should have come and talked to us about an exemption. You minister to minister at that time, and that didn't happen.
But without being able to describe what the scheme would be.
Sorry?
But without being able to describe the scheme in detail.
Well,
they say they raised
it in
principle in 2020.
This is the point. They went ahead. They didn't have a scheme for us to discuss in detail because it's been evolving ever since. The officials have been talking to officials, but we've seen Circularity Scotland have come along. They've changed the rules. Now we have less than 5,000 units, and you're not included. Since then, we've seen online retailers across the UK. Tesco, the largest retailer, say the scheme's not fit for purpose, but they've also said, along with other online retailers who deliver to your home, that they won't deliver anything recyclable in their model now because they've been told they have to collect that. They have to collect the bottles from the elderly and the infirm who they deliver online to, and they've said that's not in their business model and they can't do it. And I challenged the Minister on this morning, and she said to me, well, of course, that's a matter for the Scottish Government to sort out. And I said, well, if you think that, you don't understand how UKIM works. This is a matter for the largest retailer in the United Kingdom. It's a matter for the 85% of product that comes into Scotland is from around the world and the rest of the UK. That's what the exemption is being sought for. That absolutely directly impacts their sales. It directly impacts consumers. It directly impacts jobs. To think that it's not a UKIM matter is naive and extreme.
Now, I have to say, do you notice what he said when Scotland get all these products from, he paused for a minute, then he said from around the world. I have a funny feeling he was going to say Europe. That's what my first thought. But anyway, his thoughts on, the elderly infirm, when he said about buying this stuff online, well, that's well, in a way, kind of makes sense, really. But is it a good enough reason? I don't know. But with all the other stuff, I got the feeling that he's more interested in the financial side of the scheme than thinking about more saving the planet and recycling. Because I looked up on which other countries are working on the deposit return scheme, and as far as I know, there are Germany, Australia, Canada, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and the United States. And if I remember rightly, I think Finland are doing a similar scheme already, if I remember rightly.
Well, it's not that they didn't think it was a UKIM matter. They raised it within the common frameworks in October.
Sorry?
You're suggesting they didn't engage at all. This has been under detailed discussion since last October.
What I'm saying
Maybe the process isn't clear enough.
No, what I'm saying is minister to minister, whether it's the Secretary of State for Business and Trade who owns this. Let's be honest, they own UKIM. UKIM sat with Bayes, now it sits with DBT. The Secretary of State for Business and Trade, and I've discussed it with her on many occasions, was not engaged in this until the official request came through on the 6th of March.
And yet we're told it's DEFRA that will make a decision, not Business
No, you're not told DEFRA will make the decision. The decision will be made across Whitehall. It'll be made by the Welsh office, the Scotland office, DLUC, the Cabinet office, Number 10, All the people are directly impacted.
With the similar schemes in multiple countries across Europe, in Finland with 95 to 98% collection rates.
Typical Finns, always so perfect. Makes you want to throw up, doesn't it? Only kidding, but let's continue.
Companies like Coca-Cola saying, why are you holding this back? Why are you holding it back? You may learn both from difficulties and achievements.
So what I'm saying to you is that the UK internal, but I think you're going off piece, and because
it's the DRS I'm wanting to
order.
I
think we've exhausted this line of inquiry when it comes to
just for
last word Secretary.
But no, just to be clear, Finland is not a devolved administration. There are not examples of devolved administrations not running schemes that aren't run by the national government. They may have slightly different schemes, but the national government has...
But yet environment and waste is devolved.
You're just talking over me.
Okay, order.
But the point is, it's very difficult not to create trade barriers within the United Kingdom, and UKIM is there to protect that. And I've had over 1,000 businesses write to me. I've had people who supply wine from France saying they won't supply their wine into Scotland, the market's too small, they won't relabel. It's affecting consumer choice, it's affecting jobs. The impacts are massive, and I've got that in detail. Okay. I'm asking the Scottish Government those questions, I'm wanting answers, and then we can do a proper assessment. But at the moment, I haven't got answers to those questions, nor do we have answers to the fact that Tesco Online will not deliver bottles or cans to their customers, and some of those customers don't have the choice of going to supermarkets. So let's stop and think about them.
60.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being interrupted.
We've given this a
when I say
run.
Things that they don't like hearing, I often
okay,
get interrupted.
order, please.
I think when you say stuff like that, what it means is your utter rollicks that you're speaking is not getting through because I don't believe you. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, did he say you, Kim? I found that really interesting. You know, they're saying it's there to protect consumers. So what you're saying, it's a bit of a protectionist racket. But when the EU do it, they are a protectionist racket in the wrong way. But when it comes to you, Kim, did he say it's there to protect consumers? It just seems a little bit odd for me. But when it comes to making decisions that might affect their donors, what it sounds like, that's a big no-no. But when it comes to a referendum that will definitely destroy jobs and industries, our Smiling Jack seems to be all over that like a rash and like a rat up a drainpipe, isn't there? I found it really odd that this guy can think of so many obstacles to try and stop something that I think would be a fantastic idea, especially for the environment. But when it comes to the whims of a fantasy and flag shagging, no thought of those who profess to care about. In his diatribe, he talked about he's straight on the Brexit button and doesn't give a monkeys about people's jobs or anything. And again, he's sounding more interested in profits than progress, I suppose. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below, and I shall bid you a fantastic weekend and hopefully see you in Max's chat in his live stream tonight as well. Anyway, take care and have a good weekend.